Drumroll, please. And now, the main event of the morning. A sunshine punch to the day. The Jitter Java, your Go-Go Beans, the old AM, how you do? It's your special Wakey Juice, that electric elixir! Your morning McCafe. Right now, get any size for $1. Yep, that's freshly brewed coffee made with 100% Arabica beans for just $1 off the $1, $2, $3 menu. Prices and participation may vary. Limited time offer cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from New York City, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you again.
We have a very interesting show today. We're going to be talking about why, quote unquote, bad things happen. Now, if we're all experiencing a consciousness shift, why do challenging things still occur? Because if we're all supposedly so advanced, then why are we creating this stuff? So stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about evolutionary power at play.
So if you'd like to hear more and enjoy us off this radio show or outside of this radio show, you can join us at our website, www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you're going to find listed all our wonderful podcasts. Both Joan and I write weekly, so our blogs are posted there. And also about our meetup schedules and what we do in our local marketplaces. And then also about our sessions and how we work with clients and groups and different things like that. So you'll find our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube links on that site also. And there's a listener offer. Do you remember what it is, Joan?
Oh, yes. I'm not that far removed, but maybe I am. But yeah. So if you go to our website, you will see a pop-up there, and enter your email, and you will receive our listener offer, which is Janet's. How many are your top?
I don't know. I think there's 13.
Oh, you have restrained yourself. It used to be 27. Yeah. So 13 top tips for enjoying life. And I have a very special technique, a consciousness technique that you can use to transform any situation. It's really potent. And you can get that just by signing up to get our announcements and things like that. So go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, get your free gifts, and find out more about us.
And so you'll also find there, if not there, I'm going to tell you right now that I do my meetup groups Tuesday evenings, Thursday afternoons here in Portland, Oregon, and you can find those up at meetup.com if you can't remember Janet and Beyond. And also Fuzzy Photons playground groups, and those are on Thursdays. So if you're not local to me here in Portland, you can join us via Zoom video conferencing. For if you are somewhere else outside of my local community and would enjoy being in a group with unusual people, because you are unusual and we're all unusual, and finding community that way, please consider joining us on Thursdays, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific. You can write to me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com to receive the registration packet, find out all the details. It's sliding scale, so there's no reason to not join us. And we have people from all over the place. So very small community, but, there's a lot of There's a lot of dynamics when you have people in different locations all tracking at the same time. We're all aware of the power of that. So please consider joining us that way. And then, Joan, while you're in New York and helping out with family, you're still chatting with clients, correct?
Oh, yes. I have my clients, and I am open for more clients. In fact, I do have a special offer for people who want to dip their toes in the water. I don't believe it's on my website. That's how super secret and special it is. So if you want to be super secret, special, unique, I can't remember the word you used, but I'm going to use unique.
There you go.
Just go ahead and email me at joan@joannewcomb.com. Or I guess you could use the contact form on our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, because it comes to me as well. And I will send you the super secret special for unique people only information about that. So,
yeah, there's a lot going out there today in the world, people. I'm sure you can feel it wherever you might be. Now, Joan is 3 hours ahead of us, right? You're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast still. So we do get kind of play with time here. It doesn't really, and we say that as consciousness, that there is no time or space. So this is how we can all be together in the same place. So as we talk about our subject today, Joan, and all these different references that are going to come up, what are you noticing about all that?
Well, I noticed that I am only 3 hours, because if I was 4 hours, I'd probably be in Newfoundland. But which is
Okay.
probably a
Well, you
lovely
see how
place, but maybe not
localized.
this time of October. So I've come from away. I am noticing a lot of people in really huge growth spaces. There's a lot of transition going on. A lot of people with their buttons being pressed. A lot of people making really life-changing decisions. And if they're not making life-changing decisions, sometimes life-changing events are happening to them. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of different stories for that too. So for instance, the day that we're recording this happens to be a full moon in Taurus, and it's like conjunct or opposite. It's got something to do with Uranus, and then there's something to do with Pluto. So Uranus is a planet of sudden and shocking surprises. So that could very well mean that there's a lot of seismic activity, earthquakes around the world kind of thing. There's also Pluto's the planet of transformation. And the moon is actually in Taurus, which is, you'd hope would be stabilizing. And that's just astrological weather. I like to, consciousness is beyond all that. Consciousness is outside of time and space, but the astrological weather that is brewing is this. And it's an opportunity to make some really firm decisions and, create doors of opportunity to completely transform your life. And it's also a possibility that these things will occur. So just sort of keep your eyes open. There's also a dynamic that I'm curious about that has to do with leadership. So this is also where regimes could topple. People could rise up and revolt. There's a time of rebellion. So just fasten your seatbelt, because it's a really exciting time. I'm going to get some popcorn.
Well, and the thing is, it's not just today. This has been in shift, and
Yes.
we're all at different places in that. So all of us have been noticing this and feeling this and having changes and having things happen and events happen. So because you, and not you personal, but us general, may notice it today, your neighbor might have noticed this yesterday.
Right.
Or
it could be
a month
influencing
ago.
you. Yes.
Right. See, because there's a spectrum. So events are happening all the time, and we're going to be heard by our live listeners, and we will be heard by our live listeners later. So any moment, because there is no time and space as you recognize yourself as consciousness, that part of you that is present always, that it just takes that energy, because it's free of the time and space limitations, and it accesses it, and stuff happens. And it's just a different way of organizing how what we register on the human level is astrological, right, or metaphysical, or however you want to notice it. But as consciousness, it's free of that. So we just are playing and dancing in it, and we just get to see sometimes to step back and observe it out there, and then sometimes we're in the middle of it. And that's kind of what our subject today is about, is your positioning and how you organize what your life is like, and the potentials and possibilities that are around that.
Yes. So 30 seconds or less, I will introduce some more information about that, but we have a tendency to interpret things as bad when consciousness sees it from a much bigger perspective. So right. I will leave you in suspense for the rest of my thoughts, because we have to take a commercial break, and stay tuned, because we will be talking about why bad things happen when we come right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we are talking about why bad things happen.
And remember, that's a human judgment. That's not yourself as consciousness when we say that. So for us, if you're looking at it from a place of consciousness, it's just stuff. Stuff happens. And it challenges us, it puzzles us, it leads us to all kinds of places of exploring. And for me, that's about its evolutionary energy, its evolutionary power and action. How to move myself from here to there in a whole different way, because the framework has changed. And that can be exciting. It can be challenging, but it can be exciting.
Yeah. So I'll jump in with a similar thing, is that it's our bodies and our personalities that interpret things as bad. And because it's also our bodies and our personalities that feel like things are happening to us. You know, we're powerless over it. We're just victims of circumstance. You know, these people, places, and things are more powerful than we are. And, right. You know, we got to like fight them and do all sorts of stuff. And so, you know, and then there's this implication that if a bad thing happens, it must be because you did something bad or you did something wrong or you're not spiritual enough. And, if you just look at the storylines throughout history, it's like very good people get crucified.
Perish early. Yeah. Yeah.
Horrible things happen. And then it was like, well, then why don't I just be a despot? Because, I can do bad things and be very rich, and because we're seeing some examples of very rich people doing very bad things. Yeah. And that's viewing it from a particular perspective, from a particular, I would say, denser physical perspective than you and I are talking about. You and I are talking about experiencing life as consciousness, which is very expansive. For you, Janet, it's like it's a heart space. So if you drop into your heart, you just notice how infinite that field is. And for me, there's a combination of that and being centered in the center of my head, which is equally as infinite. I mean, when you go within, just play with this. You can go within and keep going within, and you don't walk out the other side. I thought I would, but it just it just keeps expanding. So you have to try it to get it. So nothing is bad from that perspective. There are things that are exciting. There are things that can be challenging on a physical level, but everything is unfolding into a bigger, more expansive experience, even if it doesn't seem that way at the time.
Well, in this, Greg Braden years ago put it in the sense that you can feel the wound, and it's about transitioning it, when it transforms into the gift. When you can appreciate, you move into that place of wisdom about that experience and how that helps us evolve, that helps us to undo, that helps us to change the boundaries, the limits that we have orchestrated as self and personality and body as to what is. And really, it just brings you into the place of appreciation that this really truly is illusionary, that the experience, the event, the reactions, the occurrences, the involvement, all the conditions that make up any one moment are really just creating a focal point. And in that focal, you get to notice something about yourself and how you choose to respond, not how you react, how you are able to take the breath and go into that experience, and how you come out, not necessarily the other side like you were talking about, how you go inward that goes outward, that where everything changes, where our sensory experience changes and transforms itself. And I always found that very valuable. It was challenging when I was with it to begin with, because how could this possibly be helpful? But then as I did more through my own body work in my own disease processes, and I came to appreciate the different interactions that I was having, and it's just like, okay, so if this isn't about me feeling bad, what is this about? And it helped me to start reorganizing my experience, and that's what any of us could hope for.
Yes, I was thinking about your physical challenges as you were talking, and I've had some physical challenges besides also other people's physical challenges recently. And, I used it as an opportunity to become more aware, maybe in some ways hyper aware, to be tuned into my physical body, because, there's a whole other aspect of myself that's, out there hitting the ground running. And we are two different things at once and simultaneously, because we are our physical bodies and our personalities, and we are consciousness at the same time. So our bodies will have reactions to things. And so, you're experiencing some things right now yourself in a healing journey. So how would you describe your experience of that? as greater consciousness in form?
Well, one thing, there's a trap when we label something. And so we're going to call, let's say, healing journey. That's the first thing I heard. And healing is part of it, but I see that in a bigger context. I see it as a way to experience life, one way, many ways to experience being. And that I do that so often through the journey of my body and where it has taken me and where my setup is. And one thing I get out of this is my ability to notice. I'm very powerful in making distinctions energetically. I can feel them. That empathic is true throughout everything about me. And so I get to tune in a different way. I don't judge myself for that. Now, many people will. Many people in healing modality will. Doctors will. Patient will. Observers, caretakers. Everybody's going to have a viewpoint about it. And so it's about recognizing those viewpoints and going, how do I be in something without being it? And also, how do I say that this is helpful, useful? I get to make those choices. And whatever they are, they're never in the realm that anymore that I need to hurt myself. Now, a lot of people, it depends upon where you are in your life, how your patterns are, how you're encompassing being. So my framework may be a little different from the next guy, and I may operate differently than the other guy. And each of us are okay where we are, even if one of us doesn't realize it. So, it's about being. This is the adventure of being. And I have come through a great deal in a physical way to appreciate that it's about being alive. So, it's about wholeness, right? If you make it about healing, then you're aware of something's wrong.
Right, something needs to be fixed. Yeah. Something needs to be fixed.
Yeah. So it's a trap, and so it's exploration. Wow, it's just baseline. It's down to the basic, and it's just fascinating to me, which can be its own trap, because we like information and we're curious. So you just have to look at the parameters and how you got things organized, I think.
Yeah, and I realized, I used that word healing because I was thinking, well, you have a journey with doctors, and that's their paradigm. Mm-hmm. And I don't even put it into those terms anymore. Mm-hmm. I see that this world is all about creating and experiencing. And my perspective is that we are consciousness, and this world is our creation. It's our Disneyland. It's our adventure and density and effort. So it's a very creative experience. And, some of us are very capable creators.
Yeah, right. Of a theme. We all got our themes.
Yes. And I mean, the way somebody who has more physical challenges, because there's no good or bad, but it's all about creativity. So even disastrous things are very creative.
Well, everything is part of a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I've had medical professionals who did energy work like I do, who said, you never get better. And I looked at them and I went, oh my God, in their bias, they were attempting something. And I too am in the field of medicine. I'm just on the other side of it. I'm the recipient, the originator. They're supposed to be helping. It's all about how we hold wholeness. And there was such a blindness there on that part. And that was just really, whoa, that's the limit of where they were stuck. And I got to be honest, I challenge most any doctor who holds me emeritus, really. They're like, whoa, we don't have references for you, and they're willing to engage me. And so I do have a sense that I'm often teaching doctors to get beyond those boxes, that what they've learned. And I'm very fortunate that I've created that, and I have that. And it's not so much work. I guess it's a work in progress. It's a being in progress. And we like progress. That's a human reference. It is about a being and where that journey takes you. And I feel so privileged to work with doctors, work with clients. All my clients are oriented that way, is that they're challenging themselves to enjoy themselves no matter what's going on. And that is such a powerful place to be, Joan. We're so fortunate in that.
Yeah, and you use the term wholeness, and I as consciousness, we are whole. We're already whole.
Yeah,
right. We're whole, and this form is our expression in physical form. And when you start to operate as consciousness, all the old measurements kind of go out the window. You were using some language earlier which perfectly described it, because there is no inside, there is no outside, there's no past, no future. And so really, the body that you've created and the experience that you're having is actually perfect from the perspective of consciousness.
Exactly. And we have all these false standards that people come by honestly in the way they've arranged their life experience to be. Okay. So I'm not going to judge someone who says you're not perfect. I'm going to look at the crack. I'm going to look at the totality of something and go, this is absolutely perfect just the way it is. To be unmarred, to be unblemished is just, what is that? The Chinese have a way, it's called the tempering of the soul. With a wonderful Qigong master, he said, everybody's a sheet of metal. And he says, metal very weak when it's a sheet. He says, when you hammer it, you are tempering it, and it is so much more stronger. And that's the way he observed life to be, that we were tempering the soul, that we're strengthening, we're adding integrity, so that the flimsiness inherently, which is very beautiful, it's very beautiful to see a piece of something move and mold, and to watch it also transform. So there's no judgment about either place. It's just about the nature that happens to that piece of metal, for instance.
So you used a phrase that something else. I've heard something similar, and it confuses me because you're talking about tempering the soul. So when you're a blacksmith and you're forging a sword, you're tempering that metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you see how they pound the hell out of it?
Right, they do.
They pound the hell out of it.
So my understanding and my interpretation of what soul is beyond that. It's like trying to impose a physical standard, which is like, pounding the hell out of a piece of metal, onto something. I think of the soul as being greater than all of that. So are you really just tempering your personality?
No. I mean, because the guy was a pretty good Qigong master of what he did. Yeah. He was just using that as an example that here's a field of energy.
Right.
And it's what we would call very smooth and organized, right? And that when it had experience that changed the molecular appearance of it, I don't know that it does because I'm not into science that well, something else happens. It's a sense that it enriched it. It made it inherently stronger in that. And so it can be soul, it could be consciousness, it's whatever you want to call it. It's just that to not be afraid, see, this is the human quality. We are so afraid to be hurt. Because we're setting it up that it's going to hurt. And we have all these setups. And he was challenging us to just go, so what? So what? You're just developing more. It wasn't a sense of being blemished. It was just a sense of the dynamics that happened. And the purity is still there. The energy is still there. It's just now in a different organization. So I can appreciate the way you're looking at it. And I think this is bigger than that. This is the bigger of it.
Oh, interesting. I think it's the other way around, but that's okay. It would remind. So somebody this weekend was here, and they were doing qigong on my brother, and their description of what they were doing was all very in the physical realm, and I didn't know if he was trying to dumb it down for me. You know, I'm a Westerner that doesn't know anything about energy work, or if that, or whether it was that's qigong's interpretation is relating to the physical like that.
I think it may have been the different. He was Chinese, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he may hold his whole realm. His backstory may be huge, and what he expresses is very simple and small.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with the whole dynamics that are happening, because Qigong is all about energy. So he's trying to label it in a way that might be more accessible and approachable, and, you know, since I don't know you, right, kind of thing, strangers, and whatever the dynamics were. I think what you're looking at is how in his world, touching a certain place represents everything. And so he can tag it by the physicality, but it's so much more than that. It's the whole system, and it's the whole physical system, which is held in the context of consciousness and held in the context of whatever you want. So I think that's just the way that, you know, he's going to, you know, and having done enough work with energy people and acupuncturists and all that, we think we want to know everything. And once again, when you explain it, you lose it, right? You know, it's whatever you're going to call something. It's much more than that. We can limit it to just, okay, he's working on his physical stuff. But the reality, he's doing that work in the context that there's something much more here. And that's the interface. That's the place of the door. So, you know, it's how far you want to see and where you are in your time and space. So I can't help you any more than that. But,
yeah, and I just realized that part of where I'm coming from is that, you know, nothing needs to be tempered.
Oh, do you have fear of tempering?
No, nothing needs to be tempered, Janet. Nothing needs to be tempered, because you are greater consciousness coming into form, just like you don't need to be healed. Right. It's, you know, in fact, you know, it would cramp your style. You know, you get to have all these wonderful conversations with all these people in healing professions, and I can totally see that you're actually there to heal them. You know, you're there
if we're going to call it that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're there to help expand their viewpoint, and you know, and that's because you're inherently a change agent, I guess I could say. You know, that's just that you're kind of living your purpose like that. Yeah. So that's how I see it, is that we are greater consciousness, and so as consciousness, there's nothing we need to change, fix, or manipulate. There's nothing we need to learn or improve. It's, you know, maybe having fun and gaining skill with navigating, but we already are the cosmic internet. You know, we already are in infinite beings with innate wisdom, and this is an expression of our playfulness.
Well, so and I get that, right? And it's also, how does that intersect with our humanity, with our form, with things that happen? So that's why you and I are always saying you start from the place as consciousness, and you observe your personality, identity, form interacting in all this medium, right? We're not judging any of that. We're allowing ourselves in our play, and we're using that term in how we explore. And we do come equipped with all these wonderful emotions. We do come equipped with this body. We do come equipped in this state of awareness with much more than what we're seeing. And what we're seeing is illusion. So we have all these different ways we're interacting as experiential bodies. And we are all just essences and fields of that are interacting in what we call consciousness, and how that all plays. So it's okay for myself as consciousness to break my foot, for instance, because that's just play material. Mm-hmm. And if the personality is going to go, oh shit, I got to make choices here. Stuff is going to happen different. And consciousness is always present there going, oh, well, what do we get to do different? What is it that we can pay attention to this way? And it's just frameworks. It's just opportunities. And I think that's healthy and wholeness in the action. And even if tragedy happens, because it happens all the time, when good things happen, and they happen all the time, it's how we create that in our worlds, how we relate to it, and how it expands us in a sense of being, right? So, there's just, I think in all the upheaval, it's very easy to get involved in experiencing the upheaval. It might not even be your own upheaval. It's just going to resonate a little bit because you have some like frequencies and stuff. And so we can take on for others a lot. And most of the time we're pretty unaware of that. So there's an energy that is in fear or feels bad, and then it can tag the little bit that you have that in you, or can tag the whole bit you have in that you have in you. And it's an opportunity to go, whoa, that's what that feels like. Now, I think I'd like to feel something different. I think that's just a momentary state of experience, which could be a lifetime, right? Because we're probably going to register some way in that informational body that humanity is. So it's just how you're choosing to interact, and not to be afraid when you have something that happens, So
yeah, I'm going back to the original thing, but why bad things happen, and if we're just so advanced, why isn't it all hearts and flowers, and why aren't we just tiptoeing through the tulips, and from the perspective of consciousness, it wouldn't be fun. Because I was thinking, when how it feels when you drop into heart space. Mm-hmm. How does that feel to you, Janet?
How does that feel to me? Well, I think there is total support without anything there.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
That's exactly the way it feels like. And lately, because it's something that also changes, evolves, because this is all about evolution.
So, Janet, I was actually in the middle of making a point, and I asked you a very simple question so that I could get a few words in edgewise here.
Go for it.
So the point is that, and what I know is, when I'm in heart space with you, it just feels like, rafting down a lazy river with a Mai Tai is how I describe it. It's this wonderful, relaxed, open. And folks, if you ever get a chance to go to one of Janet's meetups in her home or experience one of her groups online, this is the essence of what it feels like. It feels relaxed, open, expansive, and really enjoyable. And that is the essence of who we are as consciousness are those qualities. I also would throw in, joyousness, amusement, playfulness, curiosity. It's just everything is fun. And that's our experience as consciousness. So we create physical reality to have a whole variety of experiences, and we find that fun too. We find contrast fun. So that's why we create things that we might, from one perspective, create call bad, and it's not really bad. It's like, wow, this is really juicy. It's like, why would you read a book that was nothing but hearts and flowers? Or why would you go to a movie that, people, this was last week in New York, one of the subway stops, they turned it into a haunted mansion, and they were interviewing all these people that went there to get scared. Now I'm sitting here going, that's not my cup of tea. Why would you want to get scared? But they were loving it. And it's the same kind of perspective as going on a roller coaster ride. Why would you want to do that? Because people find that fun and enjoyable. And that's kind of, consciousness likes all sorts of experiences.
I think that, so often everything comes down to language. And when we're using the term fun, we don't necessarily, my reference for fun is the cosmic joke. That's what I always call it, is how irony and, oh, you thought you knew what you were doing, and then there it is, and, oh, no, I guess I didn't. That's the way I see it as fun. If someone else, when you say it's fun, are you talking about, how would you describe fun in that kind of context?
Well, I think about how a lot of people like fun things that I wouldn't personally describe as fun, such as going to scary movies or haunted houses.
So what's your fun?
Doing, some other people like to, run 5K. I'm not into running. There are people, it's, some people like to play football and get tackled in the mud. And my older son his body was built for body slamming people running down the field. He was in pure joy doing that. Mm-hmm. I did not like sitting out in the snow and rain watching that kind of stuff. So I have more introverted experiences that I enjoy, but I also enjoy nature. I enjoy going for walks. I enjoy interacting with the unseen. So that's kind of hard to define. But, and so that kind of an example of.
That sounds like an internal smile.
Yes.
That's something that you connect. It's the eternal smile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's where, we're not laughing heartily at misfortune. What we're doing is we're noticing how we are holding ourselves to be and appreciating that that's the natural state. And how you hold that state throughout whatever your adventure in life is and whatever it is in that moment, and that you can find that there. You can always find it if you can appreciate and recognize that it's always there. And that's what we're always looking to help people with here, is just being that it's there. It's a frequency, vibration, however you want to, how you're in your own innateness and uniqueness experience that there. And so it's definitely, I take it all back to that place.
It just hit me that our souls, in a sense, our body personality really is always longing to have that experience as consciousness. So there's a sense of always wanting to go towards that very high, expansive, vibratory experience, which is what we already are. So then we will superimpose that as an expectation on our life. And so here's the thing, is that when we simply shift our identification to that as consciousness, and, old paradigm terms is like aligning with consciousness, but I see it as shifting to being consciousness, then we get to have that wonderful expansiveness and be in form at the same time. So you don't have to die to go to heaven. You can just be heaven.
Yeah, right. Yes, the state. Definitely a state. And I think it's where you get congruent with being from a more out of mind holding, and the busyness of mind into mindfulness where you're in a state of resonance, right? And how you feel expansive. And the only reason I use heart-centered awareness is because it's the core essence. It's within us. It's not in my head so much. It is a full body anchored experience. And, how it's everywhere all at the same time, right? And I can hold awareness of it in a sequential sense or in a layered sense or tiered or in hierarchy. However, those are just organizing principles. So it's where we allow ourselves to experience that information. And I think you just appreciate that whatever we are, it's 360 degrees. It's not just over there or over here, and how we interact with that.
It's 360 degrees, and it is also a quarter of. So guess what? It's time to stop for another commercial break, but stay tuned because we'll be talking about why bad things happen when we come right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we have been talking about why bad things happen.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's that stuff happens, right?
Yes.
And if I hold more to that, that's myself as consciousness and being creative and free to respond. When I label it bad, that puts me into reaction immediately. And I even react to hearing it said that way because I feel the bias that's in that, right? And so as I back off and I just say, okay, stuff happens. This is going to be more challenging than that. I can see that. And I'm up to it because I'm in it. And so another thing it's about there's a certain self-confidence you can gain by how you challenge yourself in your life, right? And it's appreciating yourself in different ways. So
yes, appreciation is a wonderful quality, and it's appreciating. You can appreciate yourself. You can appreciate your creativity with your storyline. You can appreciate the cosmic script writers, writing. Mm-hmm. I just think that all the deceased Saturday Night Live script writers are up there contributing to the storyline right now. And that's actually not even a consciousness perspective. That's a different
creative
perspective. Exactly. Exactly. So it's really, I guess the answer is that bad things actually don't happen because it's not bad. It's all good.
Yeah. And even that can sound kind of, you're still in the bad good position. So I'm just saying stuff happens.
Yes, exactly. So, I do like that. I like that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And what you described so well there, Joan, was how we co-create. stuff happens and you can get involved. It doesn't have to happen to you physically, personally, but it can happen to someone you know, and you're in that instance. And there's this opportunity that's showing up, and how you get to have these dynamics and share these dynamics. And so it's still in your field, and it's just what positioning you're taking in the spectrum of that co-creation, right? You didn't co-create that moment where the experience happened. You're co-creating in what comes next, and those, it's all that helps me to put things in the sense of consciousness as myself in action, and appreciate that from my limited perspective. This doesn't make any sense. But when I open it up as consciousness, I can go, oh, okay, now I can see some more dynamics at play and engage that way. So.
Yeah, and when I'm operating as consciousness, it's actually beyond co-creation, because yes, my brother created a health experience, but I created my brother to have a health experience. Mm-hmm. I created being here, and I've created all my experiences in being here. Yeah. Pretty amazing experiences. So this is totally 100% my creation, and there are other characters in this storyline, and they're having their experience. It's all consciousness creating the story.
Got it. Yeah, I totally agree. I ain't got any problems with that at all.
All right. Didn't know we were arguing about it, but go ahead. Do you want to tell them how to get in touch with us after the show?
Oh, yes, everyone. If you want to join us after the show, here's some things to consider. You can try us at our website, www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. There you can listen to all our broadcasting podcasts. There you go. Both Joan and I write our blogs on either Friday or Monday about what we're noticing about the world and us in it, and with our groups, about our meetups. And mine are in Portland, here, Oregon, Tuesdays and Thursdays, then on Zoom. Joan will reinstate hers when she gets back to Seattle, I'm sure, area, and about sessions, about working with our clients in number of different ways. And our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube links are all on that site. So there's a listener offer there about how to enjoy life, and a wonderful consciousness technique there if you drop us your email address and get signed up. And Joan's in New York, and we've been listening to her from her wonderful brother's apartment, and we're so grateful that we have this communication and can do this. And anything else we need to let people know, Joan?
But did you specifically tell them about your groups and your meetups?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So Fuzzy Photons on Thursdays. And it is via Zoom video conferencing, which we're all really liking. It works really well. It's about as live and interactive as you can get. It's about as you can feel it. We put our hands up, and we got people in Kentucky and Texas and New Zealand and Colorado and California, and we feel each other. There's just no time or space in this. So it's just marvelous, and it's a great way to be with other unique individuals who are looking to experience life. And you can contact me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com for the registration packet. Sliding scale rule exists, and for donations. So it's working out very nice. Very small groups we change through. So please give that a consideration. And I don't know, what else do we need to share about?
I'll just throw out the idea that if you are in the New York area and you would like to, if you'd like to experience an in-person meetup with me, give me a shot through our website, Conscious Conversation with joanandjanet.com, through the communication there, or email me at joan@joannewcomb.com, and I can create an experience here. So...
yeah, I think we just want to celebrate evolutionary powers and our abilities, Joan, and that's what life's about. And, some of us think that maturity and aging and all that is just a physical a physical thing, and it is in that context. But the idea that we can evolve, that we can transform, that we can change, that we can be works in progress, whatever the lingo is real when you're coming from a place of consciousness. So.
Yes, and that sounds like a topic for another show. So keep that in mind. We can talk about maturity and evolution. And I want to thank everybody for who's listening, because it doesn't matter whether you're listening live or you're listening in the future or you're listening in the past or you're listening dead. You are helping to co-create this experience with us now. You're contributing to the morphic field, and we really appreciate and enjoy your energies with us.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy life.
And tune in next week. Same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.